Hey, hi, how's it going, audience? Tonight, I'm going to be trying something a little different to switch things up a tad. It's a speed paint. Back during the earlier days of the channel, my friends and I would get together for some quality time, playing Gartic Phone or working on a canvas to just hone our general art skills, have a little bit of fun. This is a chance to bring back some of that feeling, show off the art process, what goes through my head when working on this sort of stuff. It'll be a chance to talk, try out some scripting, and see how this does with the algorithm. My personal pixel art journey started quite a few years ago, back when Pokemon ROMs for the Game Boy were first getting hacked and turned into fan games. I've always been into the monster taming genre, and I've always been enthralled by pixel art. Watching other people's speed paints had me entranced, and soon enough I was trying to mimic them. I had to have been 10 at the time, so most of the things I made were shoddy at best, but I enjoyed the process and got hooked on it. When I started to get into creative works like writing and full stories, there was this allure to the concept of originality. It made me want to grow, to show that I didn't need training wheels centered around the sprites someone else had made. I started to teach myself things about composition, line work, and the resolution that I should be restricting myself to. Eventually, I got good enough to make something passable and started to practice more by bringing my own characters to life. It took years of adjustments to find the little niche that I wanted to fill with my art. Candied or vivid colors, 4 to 5 layers for color gradients, and only recently have I started to incorporate black outlines into my work to mark the borders of where a character starts and ends. If there's anything that I can tell an upcoming artist, it's acceptance. Understand that you aren't good at the moment, but with practice you can eventually learn and make something you might find pride in. Accept that your first creations won't be perfect, might even be horrendous, but it's a start, one that tells you what you can do better next time. Then, find what pieces of artwork you personally like. Try to analyze it, find out what makes that art good to you. Replicate the portions that you like the most. Use it as inspiration for your own works. Replicate, trace, and refine your skills until you can make something without that extra bit of guidance. And again, don't get hung up on little imperfections. Be okay with moving on to the next piece, keeping in mind the flaws that prior works have shown off to you, so you can amend them for later. And wear your inspirations on your sleeves. That's what I do. Transparency like that is good. My own process for bringing something together comes with a good outline. I've heard from other pixel artists that starting with the shapes via colors is better. I can certainly see why. It allows for the subject to be formless until you've got an idea for what you want to solidify. But for me, having that line work helps me give form to the formless thoughts already in my head. It's like scripting. I know what I want, but giving it those onyx boundaries is what helps to give it a form of meaning. After I've gotten the line work I want, I might adjust it later for things like texture or smaller amendments, but the next step is usually figuring out what kinds of colors I desire. I tend to pick gradients of 5 for reflective objects and 4 for non-reflective ones. The first shade is the glisten, while the second serves as the core color of a thing. After that is the shadowed version of that color. The last two are delegated to colored line work, so some of the edges fade more easily into the body of the subject. I lay down the core color first, follow up with the colored line work, then add in the shading. After that's all done, I add a glisten if available, then move to the next color until most of the piece is finished. What comes next are the additional touch-ups for the line work or small details I think need to be present. What I've chosen to bring together today is from a personal project I've constructed from some fanon concepts involving Digimon. Being the fan of the series that I am, I've always wondered what it would be like if Digimon took actual inspiration from things across the internet. As a creator, I'm well aware that there would be copyright issues with making Digimon that are referential nods to prior works, but I still adore the concept. This in mind, I decided to make a series of fan-made Digimon that are meant to be inspired by their sources. Games, webcomics, shows, etc. These all dwell in a version of the digital world called the Twilight Sea. An ocean of information dotted with floating islands that hover above the ever-flowing core where Yggdrasil resides. There is no moon and there is no sun, only a perpetual state of dawn and dusk where stars are just bright enough to show themselves. Peach-colored clouds fill the skies, bringing water and air currents to the various islands. This one in particular is Maldor, a domain where light and dark struggle to keep their hold on the lands. Volcanic eruptions mark the dry areas that darkness dwells, while melting glaciers invoke an inland sea that borders the edge of light-bound territories. Off of the island exists a neutral zone protected by a firewall where Digitama are allowed to come into existence safely before being distributed to Maldor's population for care and rearing. Here, the forces of light and dark are simply that, forces. Neither are morally good or evil, just trying to survive and claim as much as they can in the process.